right, New York City's hottest new politician, Zohran Mamdani, the presumptive Democratic nominee for mayor, could be bringing his socialist ideas to the financial capital of the world.
And our police force should not be assisting ICE.
Defund the NYPD and refund all of these different social services.
I will create a network of city-owned grocery stores. It's like a public option for produce.
I'll freeze the rent for millions of tenants, make buses fast and free, and deliver universal childcare. And before you ask, I'll pay for it by taxing the rich.
The mayor will use their power to reject Donald Trump's fascism.
As mayor, New York City would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu.
Unleash Prosperity Senior Fellow and Heritage Foundation Chief Economist E.J. Antoni joins me now to discuss. E.J., good morning to you. Boy, we are going to be talking about this guy for quite some time now because he is saying some things that really sound good to a lot of people, like freezing the rent, city-run grocery stores, $70 billion of debt to fund affordable housing, free buses, no-cost childcare, baby baskets for newborns. So if he wins, would there be winners or losers here? What would really take place if his policies are put into practice?
Oh, well, Carly, there's certainly going to be winners and losers, although I think that's the case for any politician who comes into office. But in this instance, there's going to be a heck of a lot more losers than there would be winners, that's for sure. And what's really astonishing is the number of people to whom this economically illiterate message is actually appealing. That tells you it's not just the candidate himself who doesn't understand basic economics, but it's a lot of New Yorkers as well. And look, I have a message for the great city of New York. There is no reason you need to remain the financial capital of the world if you continue to go down the route of electing these crazy left-wing politicians and you become a socialist utopia, essentially. There's no reason why Wall Street in this digital age can't move to Texas, for example. And some of those movements, by the way, have already been happening, where New Yorkers have been fleeing the city, fleeing the state, and moving to places like Texas or Florida.
Yeah. Well, a Politico review of his proposals found that Mamdani has likely underestimated the cost of his housing construction and social, or rather school rehab plans by tens of billions of dollars. Just a mere 10 billion. You know, what could go wrong there? So one of his signature proposals, EJ, are these government-funded, government-run grocery stores. Tell us what that would look like if it was put into practice.
Well, Carly, socialists are really good at two things: creating shortages of the things that you want and creating surpluses of the things that you don't want. So when the government tries to run, whether it's housing or grocery stores, you name it, you always end up with shortages. In other words, people can't get enough food, at least not the food that they want. People can't get enough housing. I mean, how long do we have to go down this wrong-headed route of rent control before we acknowledge the fact that it does, in fact, create shortages, not surpluses, of affordable housing? The only thing you get in terms of surpluses when you look at these socialist policies is you get a surplus of unemployment. A $30 minimum wage? Are you kidding me? How many businesses are currently paying wages beneath that right now because you're talking about hiring someone who simply doesn't add enough value to the business to justify a $30 an hour minimum wage? You can't force a business to pay somebody charity. They're simply just going to not hire the person in the first place.
Yeah, that's right. And when it comes to those grocery stores that the government could run, think the post office with food. So that could be in our future. President Trump reacted to Mamdani's Democratic presumptive primary win, and he said it's finally happened. The Democrats have crossed the line. Zohran Mamdani, a 100% communist lunatic, has just won the Dem primary. This is a big moment in the history of our country. But I'm wondering, EJ, from a political standpoint, is his win really a story of Zohran Mamdani and the rise of the far left in New York City, or is it more of an all-out indictment of Andrew Cuomo? Because recent elections, including the presidential election, shows that New York City is moving further to the center. I mean, President Trump gained 95,000 votes in New York City, and Democrats lost 500,000. So what do you think is really going on here? It seems like if it was Andrew Cuomo's race to win, and boy, did he lose it.
Well, Carly, I think it's both. Look at President Trump. He's a great example of this. When he won for the first time in 2016, it was not simply the fact that people loved him. It was also the fact that people hated Hillary Clinton. So I think you have both things going on right now. And the other thing is that when we look at demographics, when we look at polling, what we find is that going back to how we started this conversation, there's a tremendous number of economically illiterate people who are voting today. And unfortunately, that means when they hear these sound good policies of a socialist who promises to give everybody everything for free, they fall for that. And unfortunately, it has never worked out well in the past. And if he wins, it is not going to work out well this time.
Mayor Adams called him a snake oil salesman on Fox and Friends yesterday, so it all comes down to November. E.J. Antoni, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
New York City Democrats seem to have selected socialist Zohran Mamdani to be their mayoral candidate. But as a candidate who has refused to condemn the phrase globalize the intifada, how are Jewish New Yorkers feeling today? Shoshana Schendelman is a Jewish Columbia University alumni. She also is a trustee. She's on the board there, and she joins us now. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks, Ainsley.
Were you shocked? A lot of my Jewish circle here in New York was shocked that he won the Democratic primary.
I think it was surprising, but I think it's important to remember that we're a democracy and this is an election. And the fact that we live in such an amazing nation where we have the right to vote and choose the candidates that are right for us, on its own is an amazing thing. Some people agree, some people don't agree. I personally feel that some of his policies could be divisive and perhaps detrimental economically to New York, but that's my personal opinion. And it's important that as a democracy, we all have the right to elect our officials. And that's something that I just want to make sure isn't taken for granted here, because it's not the way in all the countries in the world. And, in particular, my family came here from Iran during the revolution. There's a lot of change in that society, and they came here for freedom. And so I think just acknowledging that we have the freedom to elect officials that are right for us. We may or may not agree with their positions on things, but that's one of the amazing aspects of our country.
Yeah, and I know that Columbia University has given you so many opportunities. We were talking during the break. But did it hurt you as a Persian Jewish individual when you read that the newspaper was endorsing Mamdani after some of these comments he's made?
I think we're living in an interesting time, and it's one of the things that's really struck me. This isn't just an issue about New York City elections or Columbia University. I think as a nation, we're seeing some pretty divisive policies and a movement towards destruction. And we're a nation of builders. We have to get back to building.
Right.
I know what that means. I'm president of 2 pharmaceutical companies. I've founded 2 biotech companies. But we need to make sure that the next generation is really trained to lead, and to lead through building, not destruction.
Right. I know I think you're the first Ivy League Board of Trustee members that has spoken out about anti-Semitism on college campuses. How are y'all handling this as a group at Columbia?
First, I think that the education that I've received at Columbia has really propelled me forward in a way that that wouldn't have happened otherwise. So I'm super appreciative for my education. And I think that America has some of these really amazing universities. I think Columbia is one of them. And that's what allows us to lead the world and to really move things forward in a positive way. So, I think that we need to ensure that we build up these universities, that we get back on track and sort of lead through building, and take away this sort of destructive mechanism.
When Donald Trump threatens to take away funding from these universities where he's seeing anti-Semitism happen on campus, when you're in the board meetings, is that a factor? Is that one of the reasons some of the schools are coming back together and saying, you're right, we can't have this hatred on our campus?
I think it's not just about Columbia's campus. I think this kind of destruction is happening across our nation, and we're all trying to figure out the right ways to deal with this and to get back on track to building.
Right. I mean, it definitely is. Tell the folks at home your story, why your parents I know you were born in America, but why they had to leave Iran and what America gave to them.
Yeah, it's actually been amazing for my entire family. So you're right, I was fortunate enough to be born here, but most of my family came from Iran during the revolution. We're Persian Jews, and we've really been able to find the American dream here. We're, doctors, scientists, engineers, nurses, lawyers. And contributing members of society. And so for us, we've been able to achieve that building. Again, for me, it's been science and medicine and trying to advance cures and save lives. But everyone's sort of taken their, dream and moved that forward. And it's that positivity and the ability to give something back to the world that I think we all need to focus on.
Shoshana, thank you so much for coming on. God bless you and your family. Y'all been through a lot. Thanks for coming on.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.